Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. On this week's show, we're going to recap the 2025 IBJJF World Championships. We are also going to preview Who's Number One, headlined by Jonnatas Gracie versus Mica Galvão. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, to my co-host,
Josh.
How you doing, Josh?
Good. This mic is really low.
Oh, then bring it up. Yeah, Zach moved it around.
Good
at
luck.
the end of recording, and yeah, now we're back. So we didn't recap IBJJF Worlds last week because Zach needed to record the show at 3 p.m. and Worlds was just starting for the adult black belt finals. As a result, we've had a full week. I love Zach. as a full result. As a result, now this week we had some more time to kind of analyze some matches. We are gonna do what we've kind of been doing the last couple of years for majors. If a match wasn't super back and forth and ended in advantages, we're probably just going to run through it very quickly and spend the lion's share of the time on the matches that we thought were more interesting. Again, with majors, there's 18 divisions in total with the 2 open weights. We have time to focus on the matches that we found really, really interesting, and so we want to do that. And then we also are going to preview Who's Number One because there's some really fun. There's some very odd matchups on the card, and there's some very fun matchups on the card. So that is coming later this week, and so we're going to preview it. Yeah, Josh, let's run into it. I don't think there's a lot of news this week. CJI has stuff going on. UFC has announced their Ultimate Fighter, Ultimate Grappler clone. They are doing it Yama pit style with the bowl pit. It's not the CJI pit and the Karate Combat pit with the angles. It's like a weird bowl, like skate park kind of pool.
Is it Andrew Tackett that's on it? Or is it William?
I believe it is Andrew's on it.
The fact that they're just like, they grabbed that clip and it was like, it's a bowl. And it's like, oh God, this is going to be, it's going to be a catastrophe.
It'll be, it is.
Come on. Jiu-jitsu people are nerds. You're going to like film them consistently.
Yeah, man. We're odd. We're odd folks to say the least.
It'll be amusing to watch. I mean, I'll watch it. I hope it does something for jiu-jitsu.
I really do. I mean, the UFC is putting a ton of money into jiu-jitsu, and honestly, the cards for the Fight Best Invitational have been very well matched. Again, the last card was a little on the slower side, but really, for the previous 10 cards, they've been knocking it out of the park, where it's like we have consistent matchups that we're really excited to see and to cover. And so I hope that they have this. It kind of broadens out, kind of like the Ultimate Fighter did a little bit. Broadens the kind of landscape of people that are interested in watching sports jiu-jitsu, because there's honestly now more than ever we have a whole collection of really, really exciting cards. So it would be nice to like
sometimes
we have like CGI 2, we have
oh you mean in that
have,
way yeah
like overall like the
my
landscape,
brain went to UFC where it's like exciting, and it's like occasionally
sometimes. But as far as like when we started the show in 2017, there were not cards every week. There were not cards every month. Sometimes we had shows where we'd have like 3 weeks in a row where we were covering Fight to Win because it was the only show running, and they had great talent on it. But as far as like major shows that were like tentpole shows,
yeah, sure,
those like an ACBJJ would come along occasionally, a Polaris would come along occasionally. Who's Number One didn't exist.
We had to figure some shit out. That's why we covered way more stuff than we do now.
Mm-hmm. But again, it's who I really hope that the UFC pop down. I hope that again the UFC putting a bunch of money into this event, into this series. Yeah. It's going to kind of showcase names. Mikey Musumeci's on there, and again the lineup seems exciting. You have Tackett on there. He's going to be exciting regardless. He was on the last one too. He was on Who's Next. I think he's the only crossover that was on both.
I am right now calling that he's going to win it. The whole thing.
Yeah.
Calling it.
Yep. I don't even know the full lineup of the names that we're going to kind of talk about it once it gets
Grippo.
to running. Yeah, Grippo's in there too, isn't he?
I can't remember. There were faces popping up, and I saw them, and I was like, "Oh, cool!" And then I forgot them as quickly as that. Are they're making the coaches fight at the end of it?
I don't know. I would assume they are. Mikey's going to beat the opposite coach.
Yes, I'm blanking on his name right now.
I am as well, which. That was the biggest discussion online, was basically the counter to Mikey of like the thought process in selecting the coach. Again, nothing against anyone that was selected. It was just that was the big discussion online this week, was not necessarily who was in it, but like the person to kind of counter Mikey was not Gio. It was not out. Some odd thought process there for that. But we'll cover that more as it comes out. We'll talk about some of those matches as they go through. Other than that, I think the other biggest news is we're getting some dates for ADCC. Trials is coming up. We have CJI too, which is coming up rapidly. We are all looking for flights and hotels right now to go down to Vegas to watch that. And I think as far as other big news, I think that's really it as far as it's like actual news and not just kind of speculation overall. Let's see. Yeah, that's it.
Kayla Harrison Kimura the hell out of
Juliana Pena.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Marab Darst, Sean O'Malley. And I was like, okay, cool. It's kind of cool to see 2 submission wins in the UFC for title fights. Like, it was a neat weekend for fights. So also we were out. We'll talk about it in the outro.
Yeah, he won. It was great.
It was phenomenal. So let's get into it, Josh. IBJJF 2025 World Championships was last week. We didn't get a chance to cover it. We're now talking about it. Some interesting stories here, Josh. Where do you want to start here? I pulled up
at Rooster.
I pulled up the BJJ Heroes results because
the light men.
Usually Jits Mag or someone else has a great write-up for results that gives us a great way to read it. We don't have that this year. So we are here at the Roosterweight division. We have a finals match between we had pre-show and we have
Jalen Financier. Remember
Financier, isn't it?
Financier.
It has like a French. It's a
Financier.
French spelling.
We listened to the. It was funny because they only said his first name when they introduced him originally, and then they said Bebeto's entire name afterwards. And then we were trying to grab like other people's names because we're not always great with them. Just like it's really funny if you look down at the finals of Light Feather, and it almost looks exactly like it's the same name.
Diego Oliveira versus Diogo Oliveira.
Yeah, and everybody calls him Diogo Hayes, and it's like, oh no, we're gonna call him Oliveira for this one.
Yeah. The machination that is jiu-jitsu names. Bobito is the returning champion. Jalen beats him 12-8.
And that was a lot of just like sweeping back and forth. And Jalen definitely attacked with he was attacking footlocks, and they rolled out of bounds at one point, which gave him, the lead at that point. And he was just really good with sweeping and staying ahead by a minimum of 2 points, even when he was swept back. Yeah. And then he just exploded it out. And exploded. It's a 4-point difference. It's not like it's huge. But also, he stayed ahead of it. And that's big. Like, Jalen's been making a name for himself, coming up. And it's really cool that he won Worlds. Like, it's always cool when you see a non-Brazilian winning the World Championships. Yeah. It doesn't matter where they're from. They can be from wherever. But it's like you... Yeah, there you go, Wardziński. But obviously the sport came from Brazil. You love to see it expanding out.
That's the thing is I always think about this when we kind of talk about this in not a weird way, where it's always great to see other nations being able to win a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu World Championship in IBJJF, because it's it's not just in Brazil and occasionally in America. It's you have Poland, you have Philippines, you have other regions now that are starting to become in that mix, and it's showing how international, again, IBJJF is the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, and we all kind of laugh about that because it's historically not been very international at the top. So it is nice.
Of Brazilian guys that win.
Always. So it is very nice to see the sport kind of broaden out and diversify to have, non-Brazilians win it.
But it was a cool little match, just back and forth. He did very well, and he took it, and that's a big win.
Yeah, but Bito's no slouch. I also we have a lot of times Rooster matches will go 2 ways. Double pull, and it's almost non-scoring or an ad.
Yeah.
It is very nice. And one thing we only really see at Roosterweight is these back and forth kind of teeter matches where it's both guys are committed enough. They realize the sweep is happening, and they kind of almost accept the sweep early because it puts them in a place for a count.
Yeah.
And it's really something we only see at Roosterweight, even at light featherweight. It's very uncommon to see that happening. And again, it's always nice at the World Championships when when we can talk about across all of the weight classes, the shift in meta, the back and forth sweep game, like the concession of the sweep to go and get the re-sweep is something we really only see at Roosterweight, and it's cool to have that kind of dynamic in a match at the World Championships, at the finals between Jalen and Babito. So
It was a good match.
moving on, let's talk about the rematch of the rematch of the. I think this is the 5th time these guys have
Billionth
met.
time.
I think in IBJJF they've met 5 times. Baby Shark versus Pato. Pato takes this one. I think there was a
Decision. It was like there was a lot of close positions. There was like, it's like, here's your ad, here's this, and it got close at the end. Pato was up an ad, and they were like, you're fighting to get takedowns, you're fighting to get sweeps, and it just wasn't happening enough. And it's ending up where it's like, oh, here's the decision. I personally was like, I'm not mad at that.
Now, when you have an ad, even ad, I think it was 1 or 2, it was 2 ads a piece, I think, at the end, technically. You can't be mad at like where it goes. Like both guys weren't able to score. This was primarily Baby Shark looking to pass and Pato just having a
Awesome guard.
bulletproof guard. And I do think that Pato, like, this is one of those, we look at sort of how the IBJJF does decisions. Historically, it was, hey man, you're playing guard, they can't pass, you win. Recently, it's been, I think, a little bit more even of like the guy doing more and making more of the effort wins. I think this was,
As the guard player, you still have advantage. You'll still see like them telling the top person to move, and it's like, to do what? They're holding a guard that's literally just meant to stall you out. Now it's like
there's still a little bit of that. But
they're not doing anything either.
This was not that kind of match, but I do think it was one of those, like when you do flip a coin in a world championship final, like the history comes involved where it's like, well, Pato was the guard player doing good guard work and like preventing the pass. It is not unreasonable now in IBJJF to like give him that, because it's like, was he doing more or less? It's like, I really can't argue for when you come down to an ad in a match. Like, again, Seth, when he used to do the rules meetings the day before for Fight to Win, he's like, don't let it go to decision, and don't get mad about the decision when it goes to decision, because you just needed to do more. Like, if you get mad about the decision, you just didn't do enough in the match. Like, you needed to do more.
There was a lot of that with when we were commentating Fight to Win.
Yeah.
Like that one match where the Brazilian guy from who's Muhammad Ali's gym. And he was like positionally dominant.
Yep.
But the other guy attacked a
doing
submission. And like the way they scored, it was like, that was like a good submission attack. So you're getting points for that. They're not really concerned about positional dominance if you're not doing anything with it.
In that rule set. But it's
so
like,
there was a lot of coaches yelling at the referee, and they were like, we can explain it to you and how this was going. But
I like in going back to like when it's the thing I've always used for years, and when we talk about really close matches, because there's a little controversy with this because it's such a close match, that you can't be super upset about a match that is this close, that goes to decision, that goes one way or the other, because it's like, we talked about this. It's I feel like I'm broken record, because we just did this with Fionn versus Adele, and kind of talking through that match of like, the margins are really close, it goes one way or the other, you know, you got to move on from it.
Yeah, when it comes to, if you can't finish, like, you then cannot get mad.
Yeah, unless we talk about some weird points here in a while, but that's what I got for Light Feather. It was fun, but it was very low scoring match with, you know, passive attempts versus guard, and then you can go and watch the match yourself and kind of weigh what you think. I think it was very reasonable to give it to Pato here.
Yeah, and it was the same way leading into the featherweight match with Joao Mendes, and this had me rolling, honestly, when I'm listening to the finals and they couldn't decide what to call. So we've been calling him Mayhem Makin, right?
Yes.
And he was announced as Mayhem.
Dude, the entire time I was like, I watched this twice because I went, is it May? And I read it, I was like, I'm not, again, if you've listened to the show for any more than, you know, a year, I think in the outro of the show, it still has the 2018 outro with Emil and I talking about are basically butchering of names. Like, hey, if we are covering you on the show and we consistently butcher your name, please have someone reach out. And back in the day, we used to have people reach out not infrequently to be like, hey, this guy's name is actually pronounced like this, and you guys for like 6 months have been calling him this. This is his name. Miriam is how I know his name is pronounced. They called him Mayhem, but it was spelled different.
No, it's spelled that way.
In the broadcast, I think it was...
No, they had it spelled that way. But they're doing the R makes an H sound in Portuguese kind of thing.
But that's only for names in the front, I thought.
Apparently not.
I don't know.
Somebody that speaks Portuguese, let us know.
Yeah, I'm going to call him Miriam because
I
that's
thought it was
what my understanding was. Miriam. Mayrim.
But that was what was funny too was it changed on the broadcast. They were saying Mayhem. They were saying Mayrim. And I was like, are they saying mayhem essentially? And yeah. And I was just like, oh, okay. The cool thing about this was Joao Mendes was apparently the number 22 seed.
Which is wild.
And he
did not
everybody.
Look like the number 22 seed. He beats Diego Sodré by
footlocked him.
A cow tear footlock. He beats Marco Mendes in the quarterfinals. I think who beat Alexandre Sodré?
Abate.
Yeah, Abate beat him, and then Miriam beats Abate,
yes.
and Diego, and then yeah.
And again, it was a closely contested match, but the way I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, Mendes takes this one. Mm-hmm. Like I think I personally, the way I looked at it, he did more.
Yeah, I think Miriam at the beginning here, I was really impressed with the speed that he came out of. When he does a thing that we used to see from Herber Santos, the intercept guard pass on the guard pull, I think he does it better than anyone in the sport right now. That when someone is, you're gonna muck this all up.
I am not.
Okay. That when you go to pull on him, Miriam gets through and gets like his hips around you quicker than anyone else. We saw it versus his match for Baby Shark on BJJ Stars, where it's like he is, I think, one of the quickest hip movers in jiu-jitsu. And it's crazy. He's not even at Rooster. He's at Light Feather. It is wild. Sorry, he's at Feather, not even a Light Feather. It is crazy how quickly he moved. But you saw Joao Mendes slow him down and realize like, oh, this dude is going to be a handful. To see that level of like dynamism in a match stifled really speaks to like how impressive this performance is from Joao Mendes. Of like, you have Miriam, who we just saw what he did to Baby Shark, which is like one-way traffic a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, I think he's bigger than Baby Shark, and I mentioned that when we broke down that match. But to have that stifled, and we know how good he is because he one-way traffic beat Baby Shark a couple of weeks ago, who's also in the World Finals, the division below, to then have Joao Mendes kind of handle him and deal with like the pressure and be in it as the 22nd seed, which again, seeding for IBJJF is also kind of weird because it's really... It
goes by points and everything.
It's really just a collection of your points, so it doesn't necessarily mean like...
Nobody was saying Joao Mendes was going to win Worlds.
No. Because you get with 22 seed, you get poor bracketing.
You got to run into some people.
Yeah, you've got to get through 2 or 3 really big names in your division.
You run into
early.
Diego Sodré, and people like that. And you have Miriam Makine in the finals, and it's like, no. And then you go and you win, and it was cool. It's like, again, you're seeing something, and you're like, oh, this is really throwing a wrench in what is normally the machine of the game, where it's like, here are these guys, they're probably gonna win.
Yep.
And then you just you're like, hey, check this out, Vroom, and you throw a wrench in it.
Number 22 seed winning your featherweight division here. So I got nothing else for this one. Let's talk about the lightweights. We have Mateus Gabriel defeating Andy Murasaki 4-2.
Did Murasaki win last year?
Ah, shit, Josh. I thought
Here's the thing. I always see Murasaki I'm like,
I don't think so. I don't think he's ever won.
You're pulling for him, and then something happens.
Yeah.
And he loses.
This one was frustrating. Because it looked like, and
he was so close.
There's a bunch of controversy on this match, and it comes down to essentially, match ends 4-2 for Mateus Gabriel. It comes down to Mateus Gabriel at one point, there is a reset. And he is the guard player. And he comes up to a knee, still a tech down knee, where he's butt, knee, and his foot, but he is never on both feet. My understanding of the rule for IBJJF and ADCC for that matter, you are downed and you are the guard player if you are teched down on one knee. Because this comes up with how Nicky Rod used to play and sit, because he used to tech down to a knee, and so this comes up in rules meetings. My understanding is that Mateus Gabriel is the guard player there. When Andy Murasaki goes to pull, I don't think Andy Murasaki realized that Mateus Gabriel would be seen as the guard player, because Andy Murasaki looked at him and went, oh, he's teched down on one knee. We've reset. He is not downed. He is neutral. I can pull underneath him and become the bottom player. He does that, and I went, ooh, that was weird. And commentary kind of go, you hear commentary kind of go, oh, does he? And then he gets scored against, and everyone kind of goes, oh, he didn't realize.
Yeah.
So and there's been people from the camp as well that have kind of posted videos and like their understanding of the rules. Like this was for me just one of those, you need to have your sideline coach, which is probably Andre Galvão, like who knows the rules better than.
But he was probably yelling, "No, he's up."
Yeah.
In the heat of the moment, you're gonna be like, "That's wrong."
Right.
But they're not going to stop the action like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been some awful resets, even at Worlds, where you're like, that wasn't the position. And they're like, this is good, right? And one guy's like, no. And the other guy's like, yeah, it's fine. And then they get yelled at and they're like, okay, just go.
Yep. They had one of those in the women's match where they couldn't decide on the position and they just reset him standing, which I thought was very funny.
Was that the heavyweight finals?
Yes.
With
Tiny and Gabrieli Pessanha.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which is, again, how you do it. But this match came down to that moment, and it is just really unfortunate. I can think about a couple of these moments in, like, for instance, Big Dan versus Bame at West Coast Trials for ADCC. It's like he didn't realize he pulls, he gets the negative, you're like, these little moments where one mistake of gaming the rules, what loses you the match. So it's unfortunate because Murasaki was in this, man. He looked good. He beats his semifinals match via footlock. He beats the early match, like, he beats Kevin Maheka by choke from the back. He beats Leandro Oliveira by footlock. Mateus Gabriel, again, hadn't won Worlds in, 4 or 5 years? It's been a minute. It's been a couple of years. I want to say since pre-2020 is when I think it was like 2018 or 2019.
He kept he was just losing in some fashion or another.
And then you have these guys both look really good, very, very close. And then this one kind of unforced error happens. And Murasaki gets scored on.
Yep.
And then he doesn't win the world title because I think he was probably on his way to take that over Mateus Gabriel. It was real close. But again, early, I think it was left like 2 or 3 minutes left on the match. It wasn't that long left in the match.
Here's the other thing too with like the
know your rules, guys.
Well, yeah, but like there really should be something like actual wrestling where if you've got something. And, like, you're so close to the edge, and it's either, like, the guy is turning and you're kind of chasing, and they go out of bounds, and you're not really getting anything for it, or you're kind of forcing the person out of bounds. Like,
you want push-out points?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
I think I will say, to kind of counter that, this year, I think, was the best for edge of the mat play we've ever seen.
There was some where they let him go.
Because they let him go, like,
a lot.
And we get, for credit where credit's due, Josh, we've been bitching about this since we've done this show.
Since forever.
And it has been, again.
I still think there should be push-out points. Or you're, again, in the finals, you're using a lot of mat space. You should immediately be, like, as the referee, working them to circle in. Like, it should be constantly just be, like, circle. Because you should not be letting them play to the edge that much.
Yeah. It's just a weird kind of quirk of our sport because we have no way to reinforce that. But again, I will say we had a couple of matches. The resets are bad. But it is better, and we're moving in the right direction where we're not immediately stopping the action the minute they get to the yellow. We're letting them play a little off the yellow. Hey man, they're touching the extra mat that we have. In the finals,
let them go to the fucking let them go in the cement.
And this is why ADCC, for better or for worse, I love it.
Sometimes
lets you play off to the concrete, baby.
Sometimes.
Hey man. The mat
sometimes is good, sometimes not so much. I get it.
Blow your legs out, yeah. But so that's in this match. We're in a rules quirk, and this is why again it's super hard at the highest level. But this is why I kind of always preach to my guys, like, man, you gotta really know the ins and outs of all of your rules if you're competing at this level. It's really unfortunate to see Andy kind of take away his shot at winning this world title
because of a small mental error,
just an error of like thinking a guy is down when he's up when he's not.
And I can't like go back and call it, but maybe possibly even Galvão was like, hey, pull.
Yeah. And again, you're at the world champions level, man. You're playing for such a small margin. Those things are so important.
When you're not submitting, you're playing.
Yeah, man, because very few subs happen at the world championship level. So let's move on to the male middleweight final. Tainan Dalpra versus Rolando Sampson beats him 5-0. One thing that
Rolando was doing great. Like, up until it got to the point where Tainan scored, Rolando was looking really good.
What I thought was really funny is we are seeing Tainan get to world final. Tainan normally, I use the term one-way traffic. Dude's on you, dude beats you, goes through. Unless he gets to like a finals, like a Pans or like we are seeing people more and more tape figure out Dalpra a little more. Figure out what he does, figure out where to shut him down, figure out kind of how to contain the crazy passing that he has. And we're seeing him in finals matches have closer and closer finals matches with a lot of people now. Rolando Sampson, the entire time I was watching this match, I was thinking, man, Rolando Sampson is doing everything correct here. He is not letting Tainan get the grip series that he wants to get going. He's constantly reforcing him out of the space. He's not letting him make too much space. It's not like the distance management that Rolando Sampson had in this match to force Tainan into like a middle range that he really didn't kind of want to pass from was phenomenal. And then
it looked great.
Then Tainan passes it.
Yeah, it got passed and everything like that. But, you know, here's the thing with that, and this isn't a knock against him. Where does Tainan go from here? Does he keep like grinding away?
Nogi.
Well,
you go into Nogi. Really, you go into the professional side of the sport, man. You go where the money is. That's really like I love the gi. You and I both are gi guys, you know, gi and
originally,
no-gi guys.
And when the gym shifted to more no gi, we shifted along and it was fine.
Yeah.
And it was great, fine and dandy. Behind the curtain, I hurt my knee like a couple of months ago, and I've done no gi stuff since coming back, you know, keeping it easy. No gi is just so much easier on my leg joints, or gi is so much easier on my leg joints right now. So it's like I'm enjoying it for that.
There's less professional avenues to go and make your money. There's
the shift happened with like with the 2019 like ADCC.
Yep.
That's where it shifted. So the past 6 years essentially has been very like no gi focused.
Your super fight events that are gi are few and far between nowadays.
And you're not getting paid that much.
No.
Like, when was the last time Spider did something? Exactly.
3 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
At this point. And Spider was great. That was a $100,000 tournament, but that was also a winner take all. Like, Levi Jones Leary's taken that, and like Mergali's taken that, and like, but the rest of the field maybe isn't taking that. EUG had some great gi tournaments. Polaris occasionally will have some gi matches on there.
That's not happening right now because
they're few and far between.
Where
Fight
Jiu-Jitsu
Invitational, who's number one? ADCC, CJI, your big hitters and organizations. Grapple Fest for the most part, like they're big hitter organizations that are doing regular EBIs, CGI, like are all no-gi. I think that's where he goes, man. He's already started to make the transition on who's number one. Like,
yes, but he's not doing it as much. I think he would have to throw himself completely into no-gi, and I don't know.
His game is still very gi.
Some of it, his no-gi game is good.
Very good. Yeah.
But it's like I think he would have to commit to that specifically. I just don't know. He's young too. I just don't know what he does from here.
How many world titles do you take?
Yeah, how many world titles do you want?
Do we see guys like Leandro and Buchecha or like Kyotera or like, he's like, hey man, I'm going to get all of them.
Don't get me wrong. Like he missed out on 2. He lost to Jansen Gomez and then he got DQ'd. So he's like, I'm getting another one.
Yep. He's the 2022 world champion because I think
23 and 24. He lost to Jansen.
Mica popped, I think is what gave it to him. Or is that what gave Ty it? I think that's what gave Mica popped and that's what gave Ty the world championship.
Yes.
And then I think someone else.
But no, that was a different weight class.
Okay.
But like I would love to know what he's going to do. Is he going to go more towards teaching? Is he going to still be competing? Is it going to be mainly focused in the gi? Like I'm interested to see what he does. He's very young. He has a bright future. So does like a majority of the middleweight weight class,
Yeah.
Rolando Jr. Or Ronaldo Jr., who you've seen doing a lot of no-gi stuff with Fight Pass and other things like that. I'd love to see Rolando Sampson in more stuff.
He's in an interesting spot where you're kind of wondering, now that there is a professional side to the sport, it's really a different sport. Where does he go? Because we still have a lot of the guys that are entrenched in the IBJJF. The thing we're covering now. But you kind of wonder now that there was not really a professional avenue before for these guys to go into. You kind of wonder with a guy as talented as Tainan, like, where does he decide to go?
There would need to be like sort of like a gi renaissance for it to become like more focused on that as a professional thing. Because again, like, here's the other thing. What money do you get from Worlds for?
It's like 5K.
It's minimal 5, 10. Like
I think it's
whatever
5 or something like that.
But that's nothing.
And that was at least when you used to until like 4 years ago or 5 years ago. Didn't get that. You got nothing.
You got free entry.
You got free entry. Cool. Moving on to the medium. We've beat this dead horse, Josh.
Yes.
Moving on to the medium heavyweight division. Jansen Gomez versus Gustavo Batista. 0-0 with Jansen Gomez getting 6 advantages. Really kind of doesn't.
It doesn't say anything about the match. It doesn't explain what happened.
Really.
Jansen was on it. He had so many good positions that was like almost scoring but didn't.
This is a masterclass. So usually when I watch matches, in early career of maybe doing jiu-jitsu, like blue, purple, brown, like most of what I was watching is what's the guy winning doing? As I've kind of like we've analyzed more and more matches over the years, what I've started to do when you have really good matches of like, okay, what's the defensive guy doing? Because I'm getting old, Josh. I'm like, how is Gustavo Batista stopping Jansen Gomez from just like...
Dude, his ability to like just put his back to the mat or prevent one hook from going in, or prevent like the go behinds or a lot of that stuff. Jansen was on fire.
This was some of the best defensive jiu-jitsu it wasn't like a shell. It was like actively
he was on
working.
His back foot a lot. You saw some points where Batista started like going, but he could not generate something that like frightened Gomez from like, I'm not going to come forward.
Pushed him off a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, man. But the way that Gustavo Batista both blocks the second hook from coming in, he has like a really good pant grip for a good portion of it. Most of the guys, when they do this, eventually their hip falls down, they turn, and they'll go up the choke. Jansen Gomez, through all of these back attempts and these back takes, at like 1 or 2 points, would chuck the choke in, and then Batista, like you said, would get his back flat to the mat, or turn, or get over it. And like he would force Jansen into the top of the half guard, then Jansen would try to go behind again. It was this battle of Jansen Gomez wants his back mount points because Gustavo Batista is not going to give him the pass points.
But
the turtle is too good.
Jansen was like trying to choke. No hooks, nothing. He was like, I'm going to try to kill you.
He was just trying to go, because he was like, Gustavo is not going to let me get the hook in, because he has his hand low. That means I have to go for the choke, because the hook's low, hands
Arm
low.
was under the neck a couple times.
Couldn't get there, but this was some of the best defensive, like active defensive jiu-jitsu I've ever seen from Gustavo Batista. I will say it, any lesser player would absolutely have gotten scored on by Jansen Gomez.
They would have wilted.
Yeah. They wouldn't have the wherewithal to stop the pressure that Gomez was taking, to stop the hook, to stop the transition back over, to force Jansen Gomez back into the top half guard and then defend the back take again and the hook coming in. It was just beautiful. Gomez, again, takes this 6 advantages to 0, but to have this be a 0-0 match, usually these are the kind of matches that we kind of go, we kind of move through. This is a match that I will go back and watch because I'm like, man,
you got to see what both of them did to like hit those angles. Like Gomez was hitting some angles where it's like, what?
And he wasn't like, he would hit an angle and you normally, what would happen is the hip would fall off. You'd fall off the back. You wouldn't be square. And Jansen Gomez would snap right to Gustavo Batista's hip line. And it was like, you stayed on that?
He was on him.
Yeah. There must be some wild core strength that Gomez has to be able to do some of the things that he did in the transitions. And for Batista to continue to just roll through a lot of that and not let Gomez get squared to him to fence him down. It was just, this is a really fun, again, rarely do we have a really fun 0-0 scoring match, but from like my technical perspective, this was like a lot of fun to watch. So
heavyweight.
Moving on to our guy, men's heavyweight. We had Adam Wardziński defeating Leonardo Ferreira via 2 points in a match that wasn't
not that exciting.
Super exciting.
Not an Adam Wardziński exciting match.
Not really, which kind of sucks because he retired. Not sucks. Like, retire, man.
Good for him.
You did it. You grand slammed it. You're the only Polish dude to ever do it. Only non-Brazilian to ever grand slam. Have we had any Americans that have ever I think Mikey might have No.
I don't think so.
Did Lovato ever grand slam?
He might have.
I think Lovato was the...
I don't know if he did Europeans Pan when he did that year where he won.
2007.
I don't know if he did Europeans Pans, Brasileiros Worlds.
He won them all. He was the first.
He's won all of them.
He was the first guy, first non-American to win them all. First non-Brazilian to win them all. But I don't know if he did it in the year that he won Worlds. And we should know this, but man, I'm getting old, Josh.
There's a lot of information.
Wardziński did it, man. He
and
did
then
it.
He retired.
Double world champion. Yeah, man, I loved his game. I've pulled so much tape footage from the years of watching. I mean, BJJ Scout did a 4-part
They did a couple of things with him.
On him when he was still a brown belt and new black belt.
Brown belt into black belt.
Into black belt. And this was like during some of my formative years of like development for my game. Watched a lot of him and Marcelo. And it was really cool to be enough into the sport watching Wardziński here. I'll go on this tangent and we'll get back to the show here. It was the first guy that I actually really studied and like, I'm doing these things that he's doing. Not nearly as well as he's doing them, but like a lot of the things that I have independently, because I didn't have a lot of guys at my gym that played a lot of butterfly. They're like heavy,
not like that.
Then I was like, I really like this guard. I'm going to play a lot of it. And I was like, I independently was figuring out like how to work and how it breaks down. And then to see the BJJ Scout study come out and then to watch it and to go, oh, a lot of the stuff that I've independently kind of figured out, Adam Wardziński is applying and using, and he's doing it so much better. And he has these pieces and parts. And it was so reinforcing to go, cool, I'm on the right track. There is a guy at the top levels of brown and into black now that is playing this specific, butterfly guard, and he has different attributes and he plays in a different way, but like it was cool to see, I can there is a viable pathway to be a guy that does play this niche guard because I'm seeing it. And we talked about for years and years and years, he was so close, and then like 2 years ago, man, he puts it together fully, wins the world title, wins the world championship, does it again the next year, so we know it's not a fluke. We talk about Tainan. What else is there to do, man? How many more do you want to win? You've done it. You've got family. Like
he's older now, so it's like that's understandable. Where he's like competition wise, like I'm not pulling away from my family. You know, I've done my thing. I'm teaching. I'm in America at the time. That's the thing. Like I think about sometimes because you coming into the gym was when Lee, the original owner. And my original instructor in jiu-jitsu was going out. Had he either been sooner, like not sooner, or maybe just like younger, or just stayed longer, I think Adam's way of playing like butterfly, because Lee played a lot of butterfly too, but he kind of
Adam.
Well, when you're 6'3" and super long, that's
Lee
my
had a build that was like Adam Wardziński.
Not as stocky, but yes. Yeah. I think that would have suited him great. You know, and Lee had some matches really early in his career against high-level dudes, against Lovato, like back in the day when Lee was a purple belt, Lovato was a black belt. And he did some things, and he had just like this, I think that would have been his most effective guard, and I'm glad that was there to just be like, here's this. And me being a midget, but taking a lot of my game from my instructor and then adjusting it to my size, I then shifted to playing a lot of the half guard and the half butterfly that Wardziński does, but I adjusted it for my very stubby limbs.
Yeah.
And just like my different build. And I, props to the guy. Loved watching him. Was always bummed out when he was like so close to
podium, but didn't get it. Couldn't get the fight. Yeah, man.
Couldn't be number one.
So
And then
many
him
times.
winning last year, super stoked about it.
Yeah.
And then him repeating again. Again, not the most exciting match. He got those points because of penalties.
Yeah,
but
basically it was two. So remember the match,
Fouls.
inactivities,
Yeah.
and then Leonardo Ferreira pulled without grips because Wardziński is terrifying, and he was like, "I do not want to have Wardziński underneath me. I'm going to pull first."
Yeah.
and then gets a penalty for the third penalty for pull without grips, which then gives 2 points to Adam Wardziński, and that's how he takes it. But it's still, man, it's Adam.
I'm glad he won.
I'm super happy he won. I'm also weirdly.
But I'm also glad he was like, I know when to stop.
That's what I'm happy about too. Is like you stopped on top. Like I don't have to see. I got to see the really tough years. Like
You don't get to
I don't
see
have
the
to
decline.
see the decline unless he comes back because retirements aren't real in combat sports. But like Wardziński's one of the few guys that I've really like on a personal level taken a lot of time to tape study and match study, just beyond the show, beyond like the interest of the show for the breakdowns we do, but like
Playing around
for
with
my
stuff a
own
lot.
development for like what I like to do. And like where the top guys that I am seeing play a game that I sort of want to emulate. It wasn't like Marcel. It was like contemporary guys still playing it. That I wasn't just going to take like a piece from, but like really look at the whole way that their game worked
And
organically
kind of
together. And like,
build
hey, where
around
can I
it, yeah.
build my game to emulate a lot of this? Wardziński was that guy. So it'll be, I'm really sad to see him retire, but I'm also very happy that, man, he was a guy that Josh and I talked about years. Like, I'm not sure if he'll ever do it. He could, but we're not sure. So it's really been a pleasure to be able to cover like his career of being able to do it and be able to
Covering
win
from
the
like
world title.
late brown into black. And
Yeah.
I remember when we started talking about him, and then
Yep.
the BJJ Scout videos, which I watched repeatedly, and I was like, how does he do this stuff?
Man.
It has more than just, the butterfly, the half, butterfly.
He's got way more stuff. That, like,
Had a great John Wayne sweep.
Yes.
Just the way he went. And then like really rounding everything out a little bit later into his career with his style of passing, where you knew if he got over a leg, he was going to float and just go into mount and score a ton of points.
Those
really
Felipe
quickly.
Andrew matches the last couple of years were just like where he figured out Felipe Andrew and it was like, hey man, enjoy all of the points that I can get in 90 seconds. And it was like, God damn, like that was the moment where I was like, he might do it. This might be the time.
This is our love letter to Adam Wardziński.
Hey man, it's been great to watch. He's been a pleasure to cover for
him.
the duration of the show, and it's cool to see him like retire on top.
Maybe he's just retiring from the gi jiu-jitsu.
Oh shit, no gi. I mean, he's won a bunch of trials, so like we could see him back.
We'll see.
I'll watch his matches forever. Man.
Always.
So on to the super heavyweight match. We have Eric Muniz versus Nolan Stewart. Eric Muniz is a human monster that is very difficult to beat.
Human monster.
Nolan Stewart was very good. He didn't get put away by Muniz, but really, again, like you're saying, for a lot of the matches, was on the back foot the entirety of the match, trying to kind of
Muniz's
stifle
game.
Muniz.
And again, like another person with just like the perfect build for what he does in jiu-jitsu. His ability, like I remember when like a lot of the lapel guard stuff that Keenan was doing, he was like, you know who does all of this stuff really, really well? The Muniz brothers. And like Eric, when he needs to, goes to it, but his passing is tremendous. His guard game is tremendous. He's won a few in a row now.
Yeah.
Won the absolutes.
This year.
Took it well.
Yeah. Gutenberg broke his foot with Batista.
Not Batista.
Not
Souza.
Batista. Souza. We'll talk about that match next.
But yeah,
I don't have a ton of breakdown for this match. It was
he was in charge. Stewart stopped it for a while, and then Eric was like, "All right, it's time to."
You could see Eric kind of figure out the timing, kind of tire out Nolan's legs a little bit.
Just went zoop,
finish the pass, and then start to kind of take it from there. Let's go to the ultra heavyweight final. Roosevelt Souza pretty clearly breaks Gutenberg Pereira's foot in the match, or I think it's the technical term is fucks that shit up pretty bad.
Yes,
because Gutenberg Pereira had to pull out of the World Open Weight Finals.
He
and then
hopped out to it,
and then you saw him on the podium for that, and 2 to 3 rolls of tape were around that foot. I was like, oh yeah, that's not. You're done competing, and it's that wrapped up. That is some damn. Roosevelt.
Yeah, it was also like it was a close match, and Gutenberg, like there was some flip flopping of points, and like, did you get it? Did you not get it?
Yeah, that's annoying as shit. One of the things I hate the most about the IBJJF for their broadcasts is like just for an organization that like touts itself on how like dope they are and how good and prestigious they are. Man, get your fucking points together. It is so frustrating to be like 2 points. Oh, it's back. It's on the board. It's on the board. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Like
they leave it to the interpretation of specific refs,
and
then you have somebody in your headset,
which is fine.
And then they're like, no.
If they're interpreting and they're doing it like, all I want, if you're gonna be inconsistent, just don't tell me. Just do what ADCC does. And go, hey man, we will figure out the points, and it will take as long as it takes. But when it goes on the board, and this has happened a couple of times at ADCC where they've not done that. But historically, when you do scoring and judging in ADCC, which I think has the best system for the way that they do points, when the points go up, that is the consensus of what has happened. They're not going to be taken off or put up or changed. Like IBJJF at the World Championship level every fucking year does like 2 points.
Here's 7 points.
But not 2 points. But it's 3 points.
Maybe.
But it's 2 points. But maybe it's
here's
not. It's like,
ad.
Guys, figure it out.
Here's a penalty.
And then put it on the board. Because then at least guys know that they shouldn't be looking at the scoreboard to make informed decisions. You know, like, hey man, I know that I got my points and they are coming. And that's fine. If they don't come, cool, it's a different story. But the consistent points, no points. Because in the commentary, you listen to the commentary scramble to be like, did you not? But it makes the whole thing feel way less legitimate. If we're like, imagine if at like a basketball game, if like they score and you're like, well, he actually didn't score because what? It's like, did he score or did he not score? Are the points on the board or are they not on the board? Don't add them on the board and then take them away. Points don't go up on the board in other sports until we're sure that's what the points are. In jiu-jitsu, it happens all the time when we're adding and taking away points on the broadcast. It just frustrates me to no end. That is my spiel. Yeah,
This I hate. Anytime I see it.
What Josh, you're looking to audio show. Josh is doing the point wave back, the fan to the head, which is just like, yep, somebody on the team fucked up. And it's like the fact that we see that so frequently.
You get the tap, you get the one of these.
Yep. Which, again, I like that it exists. I like that it's like, hey, these are the points. Like, it's here forever. I like that there's a mechanism to fix it.
But each time, whoever like the head ref is, it's so opinionated still. Like they do it with everything. Like with that rash guard has too much red on it, not enough black.
We're going to get into a whole thing here with IBJJF and their treatment of athletes and people. But it is frustrating, and I just wish they would do like every other sport does with judging. Have a panel of judges, and don't have the guys that are responsible for the action of the match also keeping track of the points and doing it. It's like, I don't like that as a responsibility.
I mean, like, if you're talking about that, you want at least they're not MLB umpires. Fuck those dudes.
There's not that.
I don't even watch baseball. Fuck those dudes.
Dick waving contest.
Open weight.
So let's talk about the match. Roosevelt Souza wins it.
Yeah,
at one point, hits a really dope belly down foot lock that Gutenberg Pereira was like, I'm not gonna tap to this. And
sometimes you got to tap, dog.
Yeah, gets advantage, wins. Very close match. But that was the dope. It was like it was a footlock that would have previously been illegal and was legal now, which I loved. Open weight match. Eric Muniz wins by walkover because Gutenberg Pereira could not
blew
compete.
Up his foot.
Unfortunate, but again, it is kind of tradition now that we usually don't see the men's absolute final. I think in the last 10 years we've seen 3 of them.
No, we've seen more than that. In the last 10 years, Pashal. Bring it up.
I think we have.
Bring it up.
I'm not going to bring it up now, but I think that we've had a bunch of closeouts. We have had Leandro and Buchecha close out that one year. We had a teammate close out. We have injury close out. We have had a lot of them that have not happened. We had the Margali one that got DQ'd, so there was no final for that one. We've had a lot of them that didn't happen.
Shenanigans.
As is tradition. So, moving on to the ladies. Roosterweight finals. We had Mica Bastos defeating Marina Roltz 13-0.
I wonder how that one went.
Fuck, man.
She's really good. What does she do?
I'm running out of shit. She's what? This is the 6th?
The 800th?
I think this is the 6th in the gi, and she's done 5. Like, I think this is her 11th world title. Because last time it was the 10th. So this is the 11th or 12th, depending on...
Or 15th. I don't know. She just wins.
She does ADCC, but she's just too small for ADCC. But now they have the under 55 kilo division that she would look a little more comparably sized for. You just keep racking up world titles.
I'm just doing the math of what 55 kilos is because we use freedom units.
121, baby.
Yes, you are correct.
I looked at the calculator, Josh.
Oh, yeah.
I also memorized it, but I wanted to watch you do the math.
I think rooster in female is what, like 110?
Oh, for IBJJF, what
Yeah.
is the weight class? I don't actually.
Just bring it up.
IBJJF
But like, I
weight
think
class.
she's still like too small for even.
IBJJF weight class chart on Pinterest.
Go to
I
that one.
think. Well, no, they changed it a couple years ago. I think.
There you go, right there.
IBJJF weight classes here.
Go
For
down.
women, it is 107.
107. Yeah, she's 8 kilos. She makes 8 kilos under the under 55.
Yeah.
And there are going to be people that are pushing it to make 55 at ADCC.
Yeah.
Not saying that she couldn't do it. She just might be too undersized.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Again, we don't the women's participation in the sport is not equal to the men's yet. So it's rough. But yeah, man, she 13-0. One-way traffic, pass, sweep, mount, whole thing.
What else does she do? She's so fucking
I don't
good.
know. I would love to see her in more super fights. She's the one champion right now.
Yeah, she's lost before too. But
Not frequently.
I
I would love to see her have some really cool matches at one championship. I would love to see they pay her well.
Who else do they have?
They don't really have a huge roster of women's atom weights in one. I think it would be atom weight for one because it would be straw weight, which is atom weight. Yeah,
who, like even at 110, like who do they have that is going to give her any problem whatsoever? Like they had that same issue with Mikey. Like you're just throwing these people, and they had no business being in there with him.
Yeah, she's in a really weird spot career-wise. Again, another one. It's impressive, but again, where does she go from here? Like, comes back again in 26 and does it again probably. So that's on female roosterweight. Let's move on to the light featherweight division for the women. We have Mia Funegra. I knew I was going to do it, Josh. I knew it. I looked at it. I was like, I pronounced that wrong in my head. Don't do that on the show. Immediately got it wrong on the show. Defeats Andressa Nogueira via advantages. It's always really cool to have a new black belt.
Like 3-day-old black belt.
Brand new black belt. Win a world title.
Officially the youngest black belt world gold medalist.
Really?
Yeah.
I missed it on the broadcast.
They were saying that she is the youngest world champion.
Is she younger? She was younger than... Oh, no, Mica popped that year. That's what it was, because Mica was the previously older because he wasn't 19 yet.
I think she's still younger.
Yeah, I'm saying, but Mica got his title taken away because he popped.
But
he would have been the youngest.
Not Ty. Was it Ty that he won against, or was it? Cade?
Oh, Ty has that title, I think. I think Ty would have been 19 at the time.
No, because one of the two of them would have been the youngest champion. Whoever won, they would have been the youngest world champion.
That was also the same thing for ADCC.
Mica won, then he lost it.
Yep.
So it was Ty that got it.
And she's younger than Tai would have been.
Yes.
Okay.
She's younger than Ty was when he won it.
Yes. Yeah.
There you go.
Man, that was a journey to get there, Josh.
Yeah.
We got there.
We're stupid.
Yeah, all around great. Very, very close match.
Not much to add to that. Awesome that she won.
Yeah, ads. Let's see. Moving on to the
Ads.
female featherweight division, we had Larissa Campo defeating Carolina Vinares via triangle. This is a neat-ass triangle. This is a neat setup.
I enjoyed it.
She kind of jumps over, and Caroline goes to, like, almost waiter sweep her out of it.
You kind of see it a lot in the female division, the way they kind of escape
Yes.
out of those jumping
They just
into you.
you just back out of it. And it is a really common escape in the women's divisions that you just don't see. I think it's because the women have smaller shoulders and bendier arms. And so you can get out of the armbar and you can pull your shoulders out of the triangle more easily and then pull your arm out because you have some bend to it that can get out. And in a way that, like,
I have
we
seen
don't
some
see in the men's
gnarly,
divisions.
like, arms, and I'm like, oh God. And then you just see
And the women are like,
they
"No, we're fine."
shrug it off.
Like, okay, we're fine. You're like, gross.
It's like, whatever.
But this was not that way. Larissa Campos basically jumps over. The transition here was really neat because it was very quick, and she just kind of intercepts a regard, hops over, triangles, and I went,
Oh,
shit, is
that
that
just
going to work?
happened.
Almost like a mount. She starts as like a mounted triangle that you'd almost do as like a sit-through pass on the side, like almost like an old school Sao Paulo, but when you get over the leg, you kind of like drive through like Heisakatame pass. She has the leg over. Caroline tries to like hook up and then turn, doesn't get there, and Campo finishes the triangle. I was like, that was a really neat
That
transition
just
counter,
happened. Yeah.
and then like re-square. Like it was just a really neat finish. And so there's a Campos.
And it's always good seeing a submission.
I love submissions in the finals. We did not have a lot of subs in the finals. I think the women had more subs in the finals than the men this year, which is always great to see. Moving on to the lightweight division, we have Jana Libre defeating Luisa Montero 4-2.
There was some shenanigans going on in this one too.
This was the shenanigans. This was I think the match I was thinking about when I was bitching about the points. It happened a couple of times.
It was a lot of back and forth. Louisa was definitely like, no. And they were like, yeah. And she was like, And I mean, you see this a lot where like it becomes very like super close. And then somebody gets it, and then the other person is upset. But then they're like, you know what? Okay. And Louisa has so many world titles. Like, of course you want to win. You don't got it this year.
Yeah. Libre takes that 4-2. Middleweight, we have Thalita Silva defeating Elizabeth Clay by one advantage. This was a super close. It was Clay from the guard. Thalita trying to pass.
Clay wasn't just like, I don't think she was like really opening up enough after that. Like she looked like she wanted to hop on the legs for a second and then stayed in the one position like the rest of the match. It's like, you got to do something. You're down.
Yeah. It was a very inactive, not super. It was like, yeah, it was a relatively inactive match positionally. It was like Elizabeth's, what she was looking for was not working. And what Thalita was looking for also was not working. But Thalita was on top, putting more heavy pressure on it. She got the advantage for the near pass there.
That's really it.
That's it. I don't have a whole lot more analysis to make on this. That's just what happened in the match. Medium heavyweight, let's move on. We have Tamara Ferreira defeating Ingrid Alves via two advantages. Again, another very, very close match that's decided by two, I think near pass, I think is what it was.
Tamara
honestly
got slammed earlier by somebody that we'll be talking about later.
Oh yeah, that was the World Championship. Yeah. Slam DQ win.
Slammed.
by a woman's name who.
We'll talk about it in a minute.
We'll talk about it in a minute. We'll do who's number one preview. She wins by advantages. It was
a close one.
It was a very close match. Heavyweight division, Larissa Diaz defeats Yara Soares 8-6.
Yara would normally run into Pessanha.
Yes.
And then, like, Pessanha just has her number. She's beat her, like, once out of...
She's beat her
once or twice.
Once or twice, but the majority of their matches as of, I think, since 2023, she has not beaten her.
Yeah.
I think is what the stat... We looked it up a couple, like 6 or 8 months ago. We looked it up, and that was the running standing of the match, kind of back and forth right now. It was like she was on a big, tough streak against Gabrieli Pessanha.
And, you know, in a back and forth match, it's like, man, you're so close. It's the same thing. It's like you're so close again. Like a Wardziński thing. It's like you're almost
You're so
there,
close to it.
and you just missed it.
Yep. So Larissa Diaz takes that. I was kind of pulling for Yara because she's been so close so many times.
For sure.
And she looked good in this match. This match is one of those, like, you run it 10 times, you probably have it's 5 or 6 each.
Yeah.
If you run it, it was very close. I was pulling for Yara's Horace because you've seen Pessanha beat her so many times. But again, congratulations to Larissa Diaz. She takes that. Onto the heavyweight finals, super heavyweight finals. Sorry, not heavyweight. We have Gabrieli Pessanha defeating Tainan Porfirio. This is what this match is going to look like. Either Porfirio can double under pass, get around Pessanha, which right now she really hasn't been able to do. Pessanha can't triangle.
They have had these really close matches back and forth like all year.
Yep. The problem is my kind of problem with their match. Problem's not the right word here. It looks like the same match. Porfirio can take it, but has a tendency to late in the match be overwhelmed by Pessanha's movement. She gets too static, and Pessanha gets around her, gets to the back.
There was a point in this match where I was like, should Porfirio have had scored? And they didn't give it to her. And there was a lot of like
there was
discussion.
One where they gave Pessanha. So
she got points and then they took it away.
This happens in the open weight too. Again, I actually might be mixing up both of these.
No, you're mixing it because she choked her.
Well, in the open weight, so she beats her in the first one. In this open weight, it's a little more. It's much more standing. Or I think the division match was much more standing. Again, these matches are blurring together because it is a very similar dynamic. Gabrieli Pessanha, at one point, she has up 2 points. She drags, she gets behind Tainan Porfirio in a kind of a funny, like almost a scrambly sequence. Porfirio goes to turtle. Pessanha covers the back hip. Gets 2 points. I got confused. Do you now get 2 points for what is essentially a wrestle up to a cover of the hip on the turtle? Because I've seen it a couple of times now. I've seen it
from bottom to top.
But you don't go chest to chest. You've forced a turtle as the bottom player. I have historically, and again, this is me going back to like all the refereeing and judging I did at ADCC. That is not a scoring position. You have if you are chest to chest, you can score sweeps and like positions.
I think chest to back, especially going from your back to then being on top and being chest to back and sort of like a referee's position or whatever you want to call it.
That's never scored.
Yeah, it has. Like think about it like an arm drag, right? Think about an arm drag from the bottom and you come up on top, but the person turtles, right?
Yeah, but
you're pulling and you've now got position.
You can get the back there, but you cannot score the.
But you went from bottom to top.
You're not the top player. You're chest to back. There's no top player in chest to back.
You're not on the top.
No, you're in chest to back. You're in referee's position.
But if you hold it there, like that's where like the nuanced part of it is. Like personally, I would score it.
I just historically never knew this to score, but I think I'm wrong here because Pessanha.
Or think about it like a wrestling reversal almost. Like
reversals don't score though.
Side control. IBJJF.
Right, ADCC they do though.
Yeah, but some of the again, we're getting into like nuanced part of it, but I think personally, as if you're a guard player and you go from bottom to top, it's a sweep, right? It's 2 points.
Yeah, but this is what I was kind of confused as
especially if the person stays down.
But I don't consider when you go, we're in like a dumb nuanced discussion for a bunch of different rule sets that we've worked in and not worked in and IBJJF and everything. This is I think an issue I have that we can have like off air because I'm just confused.
We'll talk about it for hours.
Probably.
And
she gets points here for going from the bottom player to covering the back hip, and I think I'm not aware that is a scoring position now.
that must have been the open weight because she didn't get points for it.
Well, she gets the choker. She gets the back eventually and gets the
But
choke.
I'm saying like that was open weight, not the
Sorry, I know it happened in open weight. This sequence happened in open weight. But it weirdly, it is only something I have seen scored for Pessanha both times this has come up in a weird way. I've not seen this happen in another division where this scores. I've only seen it score in Pessanha's matches, which is super weird.
In my personal opinion, I think that should score.
It's fine. It does. It probably does in IBJJF because I know you cover the hip. You get an advantage. I thought you got an advantage for it, but I might not understand. So again, interesting for the open weight match here when she beats Porfirio is that it is the exact same choke that she may or may not have finished at BJJ Stars.
Yeah,
it was that controversial choke where we looked and everyone kind of looked. Commentators looked and we kind of can't really. That might be a tap, but it does look like a tap. And Porfirio argued like it wasn't a tap, and I kind of went, I'm not sure that was a tap. But she gets it here. So again, that for history, it is telling that Pessanha has made the adjustments and can get to that same position. It is really frustrating that Porfirio has not made the adjustments to get around, but it is impressive on the other side of that Pessanha has been able to kind of consistently beat Porfirio in this same way. She recognizes the tendencies, and she can know that late. She can get around. She can force Tainan to get too low, and if you force the turtle.
2 more world championship medals too.
Mm-hmm.
Is she the most winningest world champion now at this point?
She's close.
Does she have more than Buchecha? I think she does.
I think might be.
I think she does.
She might be. I think she might be at only 8. But regardless, very impressive. So that is the 22 when we said IBJJF World Championship recap. Really neat World Championship. That's all I got for that. Let's move on to a real quick run through for the preview for who's number one. I'm not going to talk about these a ton. Really want to break them down. We have, let's start with the middleweight championship match. We have Jonnatas Gracie taking on Mica Galvão. This is a really interesting one because it really kind of comes down to what Jonnatas Gracie we get. If he can impose on Mica Galvão and slow him down. I have been impressed at Jonnatas Gracie's wrestling.
Yes.
And that, I think, is where most of this match is going to take place. I also think Jonnatas Gracie is bigger than Mica Galvão. Not by a giant margin, but I think he's a little bigger because he was bigger than J-Rod. And J-Rod is very similar size to Mica Galvão.
J-Rod is a small middleweight like Mica is. Mica's wrestling, in the sense, is better than J-Rod's.
For jiu-jitsu, I'll give
and
you
his and his jiu-jitsu is better than J-Rod's.
Yes.
They have similar and potent in J-Rod. So it's going to be interesting to see because you see Jonnatas like kind of sometimes drag stuff out and then like get to somewhere where he's scored or done something of that point and then just like runs away with it. I don't think he can do that to Mica.
I agree. Your take there is the exact same of mine. Of like Jonnatas Gracie, I don't think will be able to slow Mica Galvão
Does
down.
he have the gas tank to go like that for 15 minutes with Mica?
No, but I think because he can't slow it down and because he can't go like that. My thought is, can Gracie, like you said, drag this out on the feet for long enough and sort of make it close and then have one more. Hey, one round goes to Mica, one round goes to Jonnatas because Jonnatas is a good enough wrestler now and a little bigger to maybe bully a little bit.
Mica's going to hit like that go behind or that arm drag or something.
Mica will have an explosive moment that will define the match. My question is, in this format, do we think he puts him away?
I don't think Jonnatas can stop the forward momentum of Galvão. Do I think Galvão can finish him? Yes.
Yeah. You think Brandon can choke? You think joint lock or armbar foot lock?
I don't think he's.
This is such a weird matchup for me because Jonnatas Gracie, he's a guy that I always really struggle to talk about when we do previews and like when we talk about match dynamics for him. He's always a guy because
We always bet against him. And then he wins.
But he's a guy that like the way that his game is constructed is a guy that consistently I would want to bet against because he's low output.
Is he?
But he's now recently been higher output.
Is he still with Atos? Or did he go somewhere else?
I believe he's still with Atos.
But yeah, his output is weird.
Yeah, but again, sometimes, and Brandon and I have talked about it a couple of times for his matches, like suddenly he gives you a match where you're like, oh shit, that was like a full-paced match the entire time where you were in the driver's seat and you were on the initiative and you were keeping pace with it. Okay, and then he'll have a match where he'll kind of drop. And he's had more of the high-paced matches in the recent years that kind of make me believe that maybe the pacing will be less of an issue. But Mica is a guy that likes to keep a high pace and likes to keep throwing stuff at you. But I think that Jonnatas Gracie plays a very diligent game in that when Mica Galvão goes to jump the guard on him, I think this match, unfortunately, kind of looks close to the Elijah Dorsey match that he just had. I think that the pacing that Jonnatas Gracie keeps a higher pace that Dorsey does, but I just think that when push comes to shove, Galvão will try to overextend, and Jonnatas will be able to deal with that or just get flash subbed. But I think that this is a closer, uglier, boringer match than we're hoping for. I would be kind of shocked if Who's Number One has booked this with Mica to lose. He is one of their big stars, and that is very much how Who's Number One does their matchmaking.
Yeah.
They do not set their champions up that they like to lose, and they love Mica, and they push him. So, like, that's kind of my metagame thought process of this matchup is that, like, this is a rough... You would not book Mica to lose here.
But you also have to book him against a strong opponent.
You do.
Jonnatas apparently had AOJ, by the way.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. So,
that's a quick Google search.
I'm going Galvão here.
Yeah, Galvão is the safe pick.
And then he gives a weird interview at the end talking about, he didn't want it to be this kind of performance, and he's sorry.
Jesus.
Yeah. Decision. Moving on to Sanji Ribeiro versus Kit Dale. Kit Dale,
I like
back
that.
after 10 years, dog.
I think he's been doing some other stuff too. But I also like that Sanji's like, I'm going.
Sanji's back. He's like, he beat Boogie. He Kimura, but he got scored against by Boogie by the judges favored Boogie for 10 seconds, and Sanji took offense. Kimura Boogie and was like, I'm back, baby. Kit Dale, also, I'm back, baby. He just did CGI2, the trials for the Giles team on like 2 weeks' notice, came out of Hollywood retirement to unretire and show us that, like, I'm really hard to beat. I'm really hard to deal with. I like Kit Dale a lot. He's cool.
He's always been like a solid competitor. He's very interesting to like watch and things like that. I can't pick against Sanji.
Seeing the dynamics here. So Sanji has had his guard passed, I think, 3 times.
We had this discussion last
at like
time.
one,
Yeah,
like,
like
and like
3.
they include the one time at yellow belt.
Yeah,
he got his guard. I'm sorry. Like in his BJ Heroes article, they have it as like a stat.
It's like yellow belt,
and then you're like, and then Hodger Gracie, and you're like, okay, that's not what, dude. What you include the yellow belt time? Kit Dale is a very not traditional is the right word to use here. Go back and watch the Giles trials for CJI2 for how Kit Dale passes. He plays low on the half guard, does it kind of smash through. He will not be able to do that versus Sanji. He didn't have a ton of success with it at the Giles trials versus guys that are not Sanji. He will be unable to do that versus Sanji. I unfortunately don't think Kit Dale keeps a high enough pace here to be able to take this match as a decision. I think Sanji will be able to submit Kit Dale. I think it'll be like rear naked choke. I think he will get Kit Dale's back in a scramble, go to rear naked choke. I think if Kit Dale is smart, he will try to push this into the legs where he's very competent and good. I think that is his best chance for victory. And I think it will put Sanji in a position where Sanji wants to kind of be more aggressive, and it'll open up opportunities for Dale
I think Sanji's gonna Sanji.
I kind of, yeah. I'm trying to make this more. Trying to give it context.
I want him
Josh.
to be like super aggressive. And
Sanji has so many world titles. He has so
so
many
good.
wins. He's so good. He's so hard to beat.
So if you remember, if you're an old fuck, and you remember like the race to world titles when it was like Sanji and Hajar and I just forgot his name. He fought in the UFC. He also, oh my god,
Give me
this is gonna
give me a year. Give me a weight
years
class.
ago, but he
Adolfo?
he beat Jeff Munson by technicality at a Bud Cup when Jeff Munson canopered him. You know who I'm fucking talking about.
Oh no,
He
I know
fought in
that.
the UFC
Yes.
too as a heavyweight.
Yes.
Oh, God. It's gonna bother me. It sucks.
The Bud Cup, the Jeff Monson can opener. That is like the most famous can opener. That and the GSP can opener. What is his name?
Marcio Cruz. I just looked it up.
Thank you. Oh yeah, Marcio Cruz.
Was it Bud Cup or was it the Gracie Arnold's?
It was the Gracie Nationals. Gracie Nationals at the Arnold, I think. You said Bud Cup, and I was like, I don't think it was Bud Cup, but I wasn't going to correct you.
Yeah,
the point
that is
you're making.
Also, again, like going back to old tournaments, like that was
02.
like Bud Cup was like Budweiser, Bud Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jeff Monson competing and Marcio Cruz and all that. Yeah, Marcio Cruz. There was like a battle to see like who was going to be the person that had the most world championships because it was Sanji and Hajar and Marcio each had like 4. And they were like, who's going to have the 5th world title in the weight class kind of, or the world, like absolute at the time.
And Mica Bastos was like, hello, I'm here.
Yeah.
20 years later, almost. Might be more than 20 years later, actually.
Either way.
Sanji real good.
Sanji's been that guy for a long time. He don't care. It's going to be an interesting one. It's hard to pick against him. I think it's going to be a cool match. I'm just going to say Sanji by submission. Uh-oh. We're having a guest host enter.
The dog's winning. Yeah. So, yeah, I think Sanji takes this one as well. Next, we have Lucas Barbosa versus Dori Arun.
Lucas.
Hulk, probably. We haven't seen Hulk in a minute here on Who's Number One. He had that fight he was going to have to do for PFL, and then he got the weight, and then he ended up losing the MMA fight, a very close MMA fight, and it seems like he's now back to that was like 24. I think he's back to grappling now. So it'll be really interesting to see kind of what Hulk looks like. I kind of expect him to look the same. I expect him to look a little bit smaller. This is at light heavyweight. And again, Hulk cut to 70 to welterweight for MMA.
As one should.
Yeah. But I think that, I think it was the Hulk. I don't really know how Hulk's going to look, but I think this is probably going to be wrestling heavy for Hulk and then top pressure game for Hulk. Next one, we have a heavyweight bout. We have Paige Yvette versus Kayun Ramos. A woman's name. Yeah. Kuan. Out of Fight Sports. We can't find anyone on any broadcast anywhere saying
Her first
Ramos's first name.
That when they were interviewing Paige Yvette for this event, like it says it on the screen. It was like, what do you think she's going to bring? But you hear the interviewer ignore her first name and just say Ramos. And it's just like, damn it.
So we'll learn there. Again, I'm not super familiar with Ramos's
Ramos
game.
got DQ'd at Worlds for slamming Tamara Ferreira.
Yep, out of a triangle. And it was one of those, like, you see it and you're like, probably a slam. And then the referee goes,
It
then
went on a
waits
little
15
bit,
seconds,
and then we got
touches
the earpiece,
and there we go, it's a slam. Again, unfortunate, but it's in the rule set. It's what you're,
She's a guard player. Mm-hmm. She plays from the bottom a lot. Paige Yvette is very good on the top and the bottom. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be interesting, but I'm going to lean Paige, and I'm also going to lean by submission.
Yeah, I like what Paige has done with her game recently. She's been looking really good. She's really kind of made that big push into like the upper echelon of the women's heavyweight brackets in Nogi. And I am waiting for her to make like a big. She's on the main card of Who's Number One. Like, she's made that impression. She's getting those big matchups now. She's just been. We've watched her consistently improve.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
That's the thing that I like most about Yvette's game is that, like, consistent improvement over a number of years. And I like her versus any guard player because her passing and her top pressure have gotten very, very good.
It's hard to pick against her, honestly.
Yeah. So next we got light heavyweight bout. We got Declan Muda versus Felipe Andrew. Josh, you said a coin flip. In our pre-show, I kind of agree here. This is the Felipe Andrew that
Which Felipe Andrew are we getting?
That's the thing. Is like, do we get the Felipe Andrew that triangled Hulk and triangled Keenan and like that snappy, quick guard player? Or do we get the guy that was beating Adam Wardziński and then Adam Wardziński do Adam Wardziński stuff and figure him out and then kind of continue to figure him out and be unable to sort of get away from it? Declan Moody, by the way, I don't know how Declan is going to make light heavyweight.
I don't think he's as big as you think he is where it comes to...
I think he's like 270 pounds, but I don't think he's actually that big.
Not that big.
So, again, Declan Moody looked really good at Josh Trials. He's looked really good. He's also, again, another guy that we've seen has been making consistent improvements for a number of years. Felipe Andrew is a big test. A big test to like benchmark against. We haven't seen Felipe Andrew in a bit because he has the IBJJF suspension because he popped.
He's been doing those ADXCs.
He's been in ADXC for a little bit. Here, I'm going to get Bob from you because you can't talk to the microphone with Bob in the way. Come on, Bob.
He's been doing those kind of things, but I'm leaning. I think it is a toss-up, but I think Declan takes it. They both have good footlocks. I just think Declan's like entrances and things like that, and his attacks from them are better. I'll go
Felipe
Declan
Andrew
on this
is a really, really good flash submission artist, but I generally like Declan's. My problem is I've seen Declan's game more frequently.
Yeah.
So I'm more comfortable like knowing what I'm going to see when I talk about Declan Moody. We haven't seen Felipe Andrew and Nogi in a minute here. And I'm sort of like at a loss for like this is a coin flip for me. I want to go Declan because I'm more familiar with Declan, but seeing Felipe Andrew be able to beat Declan would not surprise me at all.
It wouldn't surprise me. I'm leaning more that we talk about. I'm leaning more Declan. Declan
versus Penna. Remember that match?
Yeah. I think, again, Felipe, obviously, it is pretty much a 50-50. I'm just leaning more towards Declan. Again, because we've seen him more often.
Yeah. Last match we're going to talk about on this card is Kyle Chambers versus Victor Silverio.
The height disparity in this is so interesting. Kyle's been doing a lot of stuff, and he plays from a lot of things. Victor is super aggressive.
Old school almost.
Not old school, but like he's been around a minute. If you remember the brown belt trials, like
the Lord of Kumite from 2023.
2023?
Sorry, 2013.
Yeah.
The brown belt Kumite that Keenan won and Gary Tonin was in it. Sean Roberts was in that one. Everyone of
Victor Silverio
was in that one as brown belt. Yeah, it's
Luca Anacoreta. I think that was his last name.
Was Dylan in it?
Who?
Was Danis in it?
No. AJ Agazarm showed up.
Agazarm was in it. I forgot about that. Yep. That was a cool tournament. Kyle Chambers is a weird guy to talk about matchups for.
He does a lot of
because
strange
he has a
things.
really good flash sub game, and his triangle game is good, and his footlock game is good.
He's got a lot of he's rounding more things out.
Yes,
but sometimes you'll see stuff and what was it? It was one of the ADCC Opens, and I think it was Varela.
Yeah,
Varela
the
just put a pace on him, and he just couldn't keep up.
Yep.
But Kyle's done the same thing to other people where people can't keep up with him, and he plays from guard, and he's lanky.
He's unorthodox and he's lanky, and he plays a funny game that if you are not super diligent, he'll catch you. And he has really good subs.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's like, I think why he works well in Who's Number One, but also sometimes the wildness in which he plays can get him into problems when he has a guy. And kind of, I'm curious if Victor Severio, who is a more traditional like IBJJF player,
he can be frustrated. It's happened in matches,
Yeah.
and you've seen him get frustrated. I'm gonna go Kyle on this one.
I kind of want to go Kyle as well because I just think that flash sub game.
Between
he's
that
gonna have
and
enough
again, the
opportunities.
length.
He's gonna have enough opportunities to get something going, and at least his style, if he gets going, will win him rounds in
For
the
sure.
Who's Number One rules.
I
I'm
mean,
gonna go Chambers
Victor
here.
is a dog. Like, he'll go heavy pressure in there, head in there, like everything. I don't know if he can really get it going. I'm not sure. We'll see.
Right. So that's Who's Number One, 28. We have a couple other preliminary matches on the card. We went through all the main card matches. Again, wanted to get it done because it is happening the 13th, so in a couple of days here.
That's Friday, right?
Today's
Yes.
Sunday, 8.
The
9,
10th is
10,
Tuesday.
11, 12, 13. That's crazy. Time flying.
Friday.
That's all I got. So that's it, Josh. What do you got going on this week? Anything fun? Work?
Work. I might go to New York this weekend
Nice.
with the kids and the wife.
Phenomenal. I'm getting over the stress of Bradley's fight week, which was
Our
great.
teammate that just had his second amateur fight.
Now has he has a whopping 1 minute and 32 seconds of cage time and 2 knockout wins, which is
As a wrestler.
which as a wrestler, which is great. He's like, I'm gonna wrestle him, and then does one takedown on the cage, doesn't quite get it, goes back to opening space,
I'm going to punch you.
drops the guy, and then the guy gets up, and then he drops him again, and the ref goes, "Oh yeah, I've seen enough." But it was a KO. The last one was like a 30-second
Starching.
starch. It was 37-second starch KO.
Killed that boy.
So yeah, very happy with how that went. But the stress of fight week is real, Josh, and also like going up, getting him weighed in, staying with him up there. It's good. Hopefully, we're fighting again in September in Maryland this time. So that's the hope. Yeah.
Like those bogus Maryland amateur rules.
Who knows, Josh? But Maryland, it's a closer
I like how you're
draft.
trying to shush me about it. Like, I hate the
I don't
amateur
love the
rules here.
amateur rules in Maryland, but again,
It's not as far.
it's much closer, so it'll be cool. But no, he didn't take any damage, so we're super happy about that. But the stress I don't think it was stress well. The stress of fight week is a real thing.
For you, apparently.
getting through the weight cut and everything was good, and then man, it has prompted me to get back into shape because he has been working me this
Beating your
entire
ass.
camp, and I've been like, okay, I cannot.
A 20-year-old is beating you up, you don't say.
21.
Oh.
Yeah. No, but it's been like it's been very clear. It's like, oh, you were in fight shape, and I'm not in fight shape, and it has been nice to be inspired to like I got to get back in
Be
shape
in sort of shape.
because I got to at least deal with you a little bit now. So that was good. That was my week. But I got nothing else, Josh. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, joined the co-host,
Josh.
and we are the Grappling Reruns, and that what it is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Google+,
Until that shuts down.
we have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
Let us know.
reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.